Hello, all. Good morning, or actually, good afternoon. Hope you guys are all doing well. I just wanted to jump on here and speak a little bit about some things that are happening in our country that are really disturbing me, that have really come to a head, and that I'm beginning to see more and more. And it's just disturbing. It's just disturbing. I have a hard time knowing even where to start, but I'll start with what sparked this Periscope. There was the trial of Noor Salman, the wife of the Pulse nightclub shooter. And so she was on trial for conspiracy, for aiding and abetting her husband, who was an ISIS terrorist. That's what she was on trial for. Laura Loomer was there. You know me, I'm a big fan of Laura Loomer, big fan of the work that she does, and the media work she does, and the stories that she uncovers, and everything. It's absolutely incredible. And she was there. She was given a press pass, and she was covering the trial there, and just normal journalists sitting in the courtroom, listening, etc. After the trial, Just Simon, thank you for inviting followers. I appreciate that. After the trial, she then followed out of the courthouse where there was media, out there. And, media always asks questions. That's normal. She followed Noor Salman and asked her a few questions. One, because, often there's, press conference, remarks, etc., questions being asked. One of the questions she asked was, what was her opinion on jihad? What was her definition of jihad? This is an important question for a Muslim because every Muslim believes in jihad. Jihad is a tenet of Islam. Just some Muslims define it differently. Most Western Muslims, more liberal Muslims, see it as an inner struggle for righteousness, not a armed conflict against unbelievers to perpetuate Islam. Laura Loomer, it was a legitimate question that Laura Loomer asked. So then, the other question she asked was about Easter eggs, because, someone, asked, like, oh, what about your son? Oh, he's looking to paint Easter eggs. And so Laura Loomer asked her some questions about that because Muslims don't celebrate Easter. So she asked some questions about that. These were relevant to the case. It's relevant to who she is. She was on trial for aiding and abetting an ISIS terrorist. So the fact that she was asked what her opinion and what her definition of jihad is very relevant. As a result, the next day, Laura Loomer was met, and you can watch the video where she talks about this. She was met by a U.S. Marshal and escorted out of the courthouse. Sparky Nadine, thank you for inviting followers. I appreciate that. She was escorted out of the courthouse. All of the media knew ahead of time that this was going to happen because as soon as she walked into the press room, they started taking pictures, they started recording, recording her, etc. Why were the media tipped off that she was kicked out of the press pool, that she was had her press credentials revoked? Why was this? Incidentally, she was the only member of conservative media. All of the others were mainstream media. There were no conservative journalists there. And she was the only one who had her credentials revoked by an act of the judge himself, who incidentally is an Obama appointee. This is very interesting. This is Laura Loomer as she was covering the Noor Salman trial. Nadine, thank you. Thank you for that. Lord, no, you're thinking of Lauren Southern. Lauren Southern is another more of an activist. Lauren Southern is more of an activist. Laura Loomer's more of a straight journalist. She does some activism. She's conservative. She's done some hijinks. Laura Loomer, though, got banned from both Lyft and Uber. That's right. Laura Loomer got banned from Lyft and Uber because of comments. Sudas Anoma, thank you for inviting people. But yeah, Laura Loomer got banned from Uber and Lyft because of things she said about Muslim drivers, saying that she didn't want a Muslim driver. Now, incidentally, one of the reasons why she did that was she was actually the victim of racism when a Muslim driver kicked her and Dr. Jane Ruby out of the Uber when he heard that they were Jewish. Because they, were talking about going to some, like a Rosh Hashanah event. And so he pulled over and asked them to leave and kicked them out and refused to drive them the rest of the way. And they had to basically walk, like 8 blocks in New York. So after that, she didn't want any Muslim drivers. And so she got kicked off of it because, she just kept on canceling rides. And she said that's why. She's like, how long do I have to wait for a non-Muslim driver in here? Because she didn't feel safe as a Jew. I could say that she was off base, but, she'd had a bad experience. So to kick her off of the platform is a little ridiculous, if you ask me. Now, get back to our topic. Why am I saying the media is complicit? I mean, why am I saying this? It's because the media is not reporting the facts, my friends. Even in this talk about mass shootings after Parkland, they talk about the Pulse nightclub shooting like it was just another mass shooting. It was an act of terrorism by an ISIS terrorist. They talk about San Bernardino like it was a workplace violence. No, they pledged allegiance to ISIS before beginning their attack. Both Pulse and San Bernardino are indisputable links to ISIS. The Las Vegas shooting, we could argue about that. I still think it's ISIS. ISIS claimed responsibility. The FBI says it's not ISIS, but they won't say what his motivation is. They say we don't know what his motivation is, but we can tell you it's not ISIS. So that's a little strange if you ask me. But we're having these mass attacks against our country. And instead, the media is talking about these as mass shootings like we need to institute gun control. The problem is not guns, my friends. The problem is Islamic terrorism. And we're not talking about the acts of Islamic terrorism. No, I completely agree with you, Amy. I completely agree. And so the media is being complicit in hiding the Islamification of the West by not talking about jihad, by not revealing these things. They're not covering what's going on in Europe. I posted on Facebook, and if you guys don't follow me on Facebook, go over, I can't friend everyone, but follow me. Pretty much everything I post, I make public, so you really won't miss out on anything. I posted on Facebook an article today about a machete brawl with about 50 to 80 men in the streets of Germany. That's right, my friends. 50 to 80 men in the streets of Germany had a fight with machetes and batons. I'll tell you something. It was not Germans. It was not Germans. It was migrants. It was tribal warfare in the streets of Germany. The media is not talking about these. The media is not talking about this. The media is not talking about the French woman who've... Amy, that's awesome that you're going to Speaker's Corner. That is great. Kudos to you. And I'm going to follow you right here so I can get that. But anyway... the media's Messages are not getting blocked. If you're the one asking about to explain gun control, that can be for another Periscope, because this Periscope we're talking about the Islamification of the West and how the media is complicit on it, and how the media is completely hiding things and not talking about things and misconstruing the facts. Yeah, Britain has fallen. I mean, what's happening in Luton, and where Tommy Robinson is banned from Twitter, while Hezbollah, Hamas are still on Twitter. That's absolutely terrible. And so the social media companies are the same. They're allowing terrorist organizations to be on their platforms, but they're banning those who are talking about it. I did not know that child marriage is now being debated in Sweden, but it's not a surprise. I mean, we could go on and on about the stuff that's going on in Europe, on how the French woman, the Holocaust survivor in France, was brutally murdered and her apartment set on fire. We can talk about how Jews are being attacked in the streets of France, how there's Sharia patrols in Germany. We can talk all about what's going on in Britain. We can talk about it. But the media is not. And that's the problem. There is an Islamification of the West happening. Back during the Middle Ages, it was armies invading Europe. And that's what sparked the Crusades, my friends. I'm surprised it's been only 7,000 leaving. Yeah, no, anti-Semitism is completely because of Islam. Right, and rabbis are saying it's time that we pack up. It's time that we move out of France because it's not safe for us anymore. But during the Middle Ages, it was armies invading Europe. And that's why you had the Crusades. That's why you had the Crusades. That's why you had the Crusades. You know, like in France, for instance, Jews are 1% of the population in France, and they are victims of between 50 and 70% of the hate crimes in France. That is crazy, my friends. 1% of the population, yet they are the victims of about half of the hate crimes. That's disgusting. That's horrible. So the Crusades, right, the Crusades arose to repel the Islamic invasion of Europe, as you're saying, Amy. Now, there is another Islamic invasion happening today. But it's an invasion of immigration. And I'm all for immigration. I'm married to an immigrant. My wife is half French, half Israeli. And I'm all for immigration. But what I'm not for is immigration that doesn't assimilate. Immigration that doesn't share our values. We need to enforce our values. We need to defend our values. We need immigrants who will participate. We need immigration where people say we want to share in the Judeo-Christian values of America and Europe. Not those who say we want to come and we want to recreate your culture. We want to import the culture of our homeland here. That's reverse colonialization. I thought colonialization was bad, my friends. The left is saying that colonialism has always been bad. But what we're seeing is a reverse colonialism where Muslims are coming to Europe and setting up colonies. And they want Sharia law. And we see that in Germany with the Sharia patrols. We see that in Luton where they, shut down, Britons from celebrating St. George's Day. No, I haven't read the Barcelona Project. But anyway, it's crazy. It's crazy, my friends. We are seeing the Islamification of the West. We are seeing an attempt at an invasion. And the media is complicit because the media refuses to talk about it. Oh, yeah. America is just simply a couple decades behind Europe. That's why I talk about Europe so much, because we here in America need to wake up, my friends. We here in America need to wake up, or we will lose our nation. Right. Islam isn't just a religion. It's a political ideology. And they are, they're forcing conversions, etc. I've seen it on video. So what are we going to do? We need to wake up, my friends. We need to wake up, my friends. We need to ask for accountability in our media, and if that doesn't happen, we need to support alternative media. We need to support alternative media. People like Laura Loomer, who will speak the truth. We need to have voices like Tommy Robinson that reveal what's going on. We need to support those voices that are sacrificing so much to bring the truth to us. We need to. And so I thank all of you because so many of you are awake. So many of you know the truth. And so many of you are spending time here on social media sharing these things, blasting our message out there. And so I thank you for that. I thank all of you for that. And for those of you who are not already following me, please follow me on here so you'll be notified when I go live. Let's continue to blast things out there. We need to take it to the streets, my friends. We need to take it to the streets. We need to let our voices be known in the streets. Those of you in the UK, go to Speaker's Corner. When the voices of patriotism are speaking on Speaker's Corner, support them. Support them, my friends. And to the people saying I'm causing division, no, I'm not. I want us all to come together. I want us to come together. But I have to speak about an ideology that wants to kill people. I need to speak about an ideology that seeks to destroy the West, that seeks to destroy our civilization. No, I'm talking about a clash of ideologies. I'm not talking about race. This is not identity politics, and if you actually follow me on here, I speak out and I condemn identity politics. I'm talking about, and I'm not talking about all Muslims. I'm talking about those who preach a hate-filled ideology. I'm talking about those who preach death against Christians and Jews. I'm talking about those who seek to throw gays and lesbians off of the rooftop of buildings. There's so much evil going on. And if you don't think I'm telling the truth, for those of you here in America, go to Europe, see the video, or at least watch the videos of what's going on. Would you really want what's going on overseas? Would you want to live in Paris? Yes, I call out white nationalists all the time. Yeah, I condemn that, and I've spoken out quite condemning of it. I have no sympathy for them. They're absolutely repulsive. As someone whose family were persecuted by the Nazi regime, I have great fear of them. I'm not Jewish myself. My wife is Jewish. So if they're not representing Islam, then they need to be called out by the Islamic community. The problem is the Islamic community does not call them out. And I'll give an example of this. There was a preacher, Tommy Robinson talked about this. There was a preacher who was banned from preaching in Pakistan because he was too extreme. That's right. He was too much of an extremist for Pakistan. He was allowed to come to Britain, and he's allowed to preach in Britain. So here's this man preaching in Britain, and he was too extreme. He was banned from preaching in Pakistan because he was too extremist, because of his calls for violence. So he comes to Britain. The threat is at our shores. No, Sharia is not democracy. It's theocracy. It's theocracy. I support a republic. Here in the United States, we do not have a democracy. We have a republic. We have a constitution. We are not a democracy. We're a democratic republic. That's what we are. And we can scream about white nationalism, but there are a small little minority of people here in this country. Small little minority. For every white nationalist, there's probably 10 Muslims in this country. And 80% of the mosques in our country preach hate against Christians and Jews. Multiple studies have shown this, including government-funded studies. These are not right-wing funded studies. You're right, the politicians are behind the invasion. The globalists are behind this because they want to eliminate Judeo-Christian values. They want to eliminate the Western civilization as it has existed for almost 2,000 years. We have to resist this. Every great empire has fallen from within, has collapsed because of corruption from within. Are we going to wake up, my friends? Are we going to wake up? So, thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it. Just a couple quick ways that you can support me if you want to and support what I'm doing. One easy way is if you just download the app MicGoat, MicGoat. Vote for me on there. I've done that. I have Muslim friends. I'm more than willing to have dialogue. The thing is, most of my Muslim friends are not radicals. They're liberals, and they don't preach hate. So download the app, MicGoat. Vote for me in the latest debate. It helps me out. The latest debate is about deleting Facebook, yes or no. I argued both for and against, so check out my argument and vote for me on there. My email address is in my profile here, so feel free to connect with me via email or via Twitter. Feel free to PayPal me if you want to support what I'm doing. There's a lot of exciting stuff coming down the pipe in April. I talked about that in a previous Periscope, so you can check that. MicGoat, the MicGoat app, if you have iOS, so, iPhone or iPad, MicGoat, exactly, Omar, right there. But yeah, let's continue blasting these things out. I think in a couple months, we're building an incredible following on here, and all of you are part of that. My family were not physically attacked. They were persecuted. They were persecuted by the Nazis. They lost their businesses. They were threatened, etc. But anyway, what was I saying? A lot of stuff coming down in April. And I think in just a couple months, we're going to be a super broadcaster status on here. We're building an incredible following on here. So that's something that I'm looking forward to gaining that. And that's all because of you guys. Next month, that's just a couple days away, we're going to be having some incredible things, some protests on the streets here in the Bay Area. And I talked about that in a recent Periscope, so check it out. A lot of exciting stuff. So please stay tuned for that. We are definitely going to make our voices heard. Yes, PayPal, my email address is in my profile here. So that's the same as my PayPal address. So if any of you want to PayPal me, I'd appreciate it. I will use that to buy gear. Thank you, Momar. I really appreciate that. I want to outfit my gear more, get a GoPro, etc., and really be able to do better quality periscopes, be outfitted for the actions on the streets, so to speak. So thank you all so much. I look forward to talking to you more about what's coming down the pipe. We need to continue to make our voices heard. We need to continue to speak forth the truth, because our civilization is at stake. It's not just our country here in America. It's our entire civilization is at stake. Western civilization, our way of life is at stake. We need to wake up, because there are so many attacks. Communism, Islam, secular humanism, and they're all intertwined. And they're all, they're all being perpetuated and encouraged by the globalists who seek to bring down this amazing republic called America, and the European countries as well. And it is absolutely disgusting, and we need to fight against it. And as long as I have breath in this body, I will speak out against these ideologies. As Scripture says, our battle is not against the flesh and blood, but against the powers and principalities which rule this world. And that's what these ideologies are, is they're powers and principalities. It's not flesh and blood. We don't fight against the people. We don't fight against the Muslims. We don't fight against the communists. We don't fight against the secular humanists, the Marxists, etc. We fight against the demons who are fueling these ideologies. We fight against those who are fueling this hate. And that's what it is. It's a fight between light and darkness. It's a fight between light and darkness. And we need to recognize that. And we need to have compassion for those who are deceived, whether that is Muslims, whether that is communists, etc. Exactly. And we need to pray and cast out demons. Exactly. And we need to recognize that. And, most of you see me as the activist. And that I am that. But, years before this, I was in full-time prayer ministry. I've been in the House of Prayer movement and such, where I spoke about it strictly from a religious perspective, strictly from a prayer perspective. And that part is so important. Now at this season of my life, I'm seeing it as a place of activism. And both are right. We need both. We need prayer and we need activism. We need to make our voices heard. We need to speak the truth, and we need to speak the truth in love and have compassion for those who are deceived. So anyway, this Periscope is blowing up. We got a bunch of viewers jumping on here. So I don't want to sign out just now with so many people jumping on. So if anyone has any questions, please chime in with any questions or anything you want me to talk about. But anyway, just to kind of recap what I was talking about for all of you who are jumping on here now, all of the new viewers, is I was talking about how the media is not talking about the Islamification, how there's all of these problems about with the Muslim invasion of Europe and Islamic-linked violence in Europe, and they're not talking about these things. And here in America, there's terrorist attacks like the Pulse nightclub shooting, like the San Bernardino shooting, like the Fort Hood, and they're not linking them to terrorism. Yeah, Miss Katcha, I know. It does. Yeah, you might be right. It might be bots, because, yeah, you're right. There's no comments, which is very strange. So I've never been the recipient of a bot invasion. But yeah, I agree. It does seem very odd. Because yeah, there's like no comments of any of the new people. But anyway, that's that, my friends. I would love to believe it too. Yeah, more and more people are waking up. And there's people, Faisal Malik talks about this. He was a Pakistani Muslim, and he left the Islamic faith and is now a Christian, and he speaks about that. And there's a lot of other people speaking about the dangers of Islam, and we need to listen to that. So anyway, that's that, my friends. I'll probably jump on here soon. It's 3:30. Today is Good Friday. I'm going to be going to church later. I'll probably be doing another. I might do one or two more periscopes later today, but I'm trying to keep the focus on Good Friday myself, spending some time focusing on that. And it's just a reminder that as Christians, our kingdom is not found on this world. We are citizens of a higher plane, of a higher place, which is called heaven. And Christ came to set us free. Christ came to bring healing to those who are affected by sin and give us life. That's what it's about. He didn't come to set up an earthly kingdom. He could have. And that's why he was actually crucified, because he wasn't here to set up an earthly kingdom. He was here to bring a spiritual salvation to us. And so we need to recognize that we can't be so caught up in these things, because ultimately what we are doing and what our motivation, what motivates me is to bring, 823 was the high, is to bring this world into alignment with heaven. That's what it's all about. To bring truth, to bring righteousness, to bring justice. And that's why I fight these things, because they threaten that. The Green Prince is amazing. You guys should all YouTube the Green Prince, the son of Hamas. I actually got to see him. I got to see the film and hear him speak here in San Francisco about a year ago. It was absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. So, I definitely recommend. So that's Spike of the Bot Invasion. They're all leaving, but that was crazy. That was interesting. I felt really excited for a little while, and then I realized, they're just jumping on here and not interacting at all. But anyway, God bless all of you. Thank you all for your support and everything that you do, and I look forward to connecting with you all again later today. God bless.